We're live, dude.
Punk's
We
here.
are live. Okay. Sorry for the delay, folks. Appreciate y'all. No intro this week because people complain about how long it is. We're working on it. Sorry. Little new technology here. Um, Ed, I think we switched over from
Yep.
StreamYard to
Eating
Evenrook,
mugs.
so we don't have everything lined up just yet.
Mm.
You'll see a little different layout. We got a couple things we're adding in. We got a new intro starting next week. But this episode 52, guys. Thanks for joining in. We're the ToyLeet. This is the ToyLeet Network, and this is Tuesday. Well, this is Wednesday night. Normally Tuesday nights, ToyLeet Takeover. Everything's all sorts of mucked up, right? Like
That's
part of
right.
the reason for the delay this week in the shift was because we had to switch to the new platform, try to get everything ramped up and plugged in. And, I'm working last minute on trying to get the new intro video together. You're working on getting the new audio set up on your side. So lots of balls moving and changes happening. But, we're doing our thing, man. Episode 52. It's been a freaking year, hasn't it?
It's actually been over a year, but you know, it has been a year's worth of episodes. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely, man. Getting used to this new chat. It's kind of cool. Comes
Yeah,
up there.
definitely
Welcome,
a little bit,
Nolan.
a little bit interesting to get used to. What's up, Nolan?
Absolutely. Uh, and I think you showed punks right,
Yep.
just as we were going live or whatever here. I don't have the ability to play the music because it's not here. So instead, for punk, I'm going to give him this one. This thing's punkish.
Dust all over the place.
Yeah, I think it cuts the audio for us, Ed, when the sound effects are playing. I think it like shuts us down from being able to hear our audio. I could be wrong, but I couldn't hear what you were saying before.
That's probably true. I was saying that does sound like punk. Just perfect little Tinkerbell floating in, sprinkling fairy dust all over the place.
Awesome, awesome. So, for those that may be tuning in for the very first time, I'm the Mr. Wonderful, and my host here is Axion Figs, one half of the ToyLeet.
ToyLeet.
And together, what we like to do is we like to get together every week. We have some standard stuff we talk about. This is our live show, and we have all our fans, all our Toy Elite family, jump in. We talk about our plastic passion, and those adjacent. We focus on the independent contributors within the community brotherhood, the toy space. You got plenty of guys like A Punk with Toys and those that do a fabulous job unboxing art, do a fabulous job every week talking about the modern mainstream, Mattel and Hasbro and those folks. And what we like to do is we like to dive in and cover our independent toy lines, and then we always have a hot topic every week. This week it's 1 year anniversary, because again, this is our 52nd episode. It's not officially the 1 year to the day, but it's our 52nd episode. So we'll kind of go back and talk a little bit about how we got to where we are and dig deeper in. But every week we talk about the news of those independent toy lines. We also shout out from the crick someone in the community doing some cool stuff. And, that's a throwback to the origination of this channel, which was with Ed and his son Luke, who used to do the show together. And then myself and Ed jumped in and started moving forward. We've had plenty of guests along the way. And then we always have the toilet or toilet. This week I do not have anything, Ed, for the toilet or toilet segment. Do you have anything this week that you picked up or a toilet segment?
I did get some pickups, but I don't have a toilet or toilet.
Oh, hey, what you get for pickups?
I picked up a clone trooper today at the Wally World. He is one of the Phantom Menace anniversary figures, just a clone.
Okay.
Um, he was on sale for $10, so I couldn't pass him up.
Oh, that's a good price, man. That's a good
Yeah.
price.
And then I
Cool.
got my prize in today from the Toy Mercs.
Oh, when you won last week.
Yeah, the Warhammer,
Oh,
custom painted by the Digital Ronin. It's one of the
That's
McFarlane ones that
awesome.
come in the grayscale. So it's set up so you can paint it yourself when it comes. It comes in that grayscale.
Oh, okay. So that's like one of the slates or the blanks or whatever they
Yeah.
make for like the Savage Crucible, but McFarlane did for those. Yeah, I saw those in Target and Walmart, I think. Maybe more specifically Target quite a bit.
Yeah, Ronan did a good job. I mean, he's got it all black with some red highlights, painted up the weapon, kind of matched that and everything. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
Neat.
clean.
It
You
was a
know, I
neat
I look
figure, man.
Yeah, I look at that, Ed, and I think back to my days playing with miniatures and playing with the Warhammer figures, the 40K specifically, and those 28 millimeter, whatever size they were. And I think back to how difficult it was painting those little ones. I might actually be able to put something semi decent together on those large
I
scale
have I have
Center
a
figures.
I have a buddy, a real good friend of mine, who does a lot of the miniatures, and I can't even see good enough to do those. So
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, they got to go a little bit higher, maybe like 35 millimeter. Get a little bit more
right.
detail and easier to see on the eyes, right? That's what I would do if I was making something like that. Just, I mean, that's what I would do. That said, any other pickups, or is that it, Ed?
That was it. That was it.
I- Cool. I know we got a couple things here up in the chat. I'm gonna pull up real quick, Ed,
Yeah, go for it.
specifically. One here from Brick. He's over here talking about your stellar haircut and giving you
Thank you, Brick.
compliments on that.
Thank you.
Though Matthew Madison, thanks for joining. He comes in and he drops the bomb in the heat here. Something about a lightning and scar on his forehead. Harry Potter, but nope, just a Superman curl. So we got that. If you want to cover the other chats there, Ed, I know you were flagging some things, but I wanted to call out the ones where it was targeted at you.
Yeah. Let me find it. So Brick and Nolan agrees. When do they get their own intro music? It's a good question.
We can work. We can work on that.
We
We
can
can
work.
work on that. We
And
can
then we
work
got
on
the
that. There's
Jetman
definitely some
here
cool.
saying, "What's up?
What's up, Jetman?
What's up, Jetman?" Uh, Matthew Matson saying, "Taking over a day with four other streams going on all at the same time." Well, it wasn't intentional. We had some big snafus yesterday, and so we had to push it out a day, but we didn't want to miss the week. So there's always room on YouTube for everybody. You can always watch the replay.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. We may not have as many people join this week, Ed, but we keep consistent, right? That's part of it and
Yep.
getting through.
And then Plastic Skulls is here with us saying, "What's up, guys?" and everyone else.
What's
What's up,
up?
Plastic Skulls? Thanks for stopping in, brother. And I think
Good
that
deal. Good
is,
deal.
oh, we got Frank DiMagno
Hey,
with
Frank.
some devil horns, and I don't know what's in the middle there. It's too small for me to see, and then a cheers.
It looks like a wizard. Looks like a little wizard.
Looks like a little wizard. All right, it's a wizard.
Yeah.
All right, that's it,
So a
man.
little Gandalf going on in there. Good deal. So I guess with that said, we'll dive right on into our main topic. Ed, I think you may need to shift because the way these cameras are cut in. I don't know if you
Oh
could
yeah.
shift the way your monitors look in, the way we have them prefixed setting, and I might be able to adjust it if you need me to. You just let
No,
me
I
know.
just need to figure out where my camera needs to be. That's all.
Oh, perfect.
There we go.
Nope, I don't want to do that.
We'll
Sorry.
get all these
Let's
winders
go to
figured
live
out.
version. Perfect. Cool. So awesome. This week, right?
I don't want anybody
This
missing
is
my
the
hair, So
yeah, this is the 1 year anniversary, right? This is kind of diving in this year or this week on how we got here, kind of giving some background, what we've learned, what we liked, some of the things that were cool, some shout outs, things like that, and then we'll dive into some deeper things too, and what's to come, right? Because that's the exciting part. We've been hitting our stride, we've been consistent. Even when I wasn't able to be here, we've had some great folks step in. I'd argue better co-hosts than myself step in and fill my shoes. Not that they're big shoes to fill, but they did a wonderful job either way.
yes, they did.
That's that said, before we get that far, we got a couple of our normal things to get to. So let's go ahead and move on. And what we have here is our shout out from the Crick. So Ed, I'm gonna play a little drum roll here for you, and you're gonna give us the name. Nope, that's not it. Oh goodness. Oh man. I think this is the one.
The worst part about this whole setup, speaking Mux switching, is that everything shifted from left to right. So like everything that
Yep.
used to be on the right is now on the left. So I keep looking over to the right for the chats, and it's actually on the left, along with all the branding and the music and everything. So we'll
Yep.
figure it out.
All
A couple
inverse.
of shows will be rolling.
Let's be honest. I didn't get through. I didn't get Streamyard down lock solid in 51 episodes. We got a year ahead of us, so this could be interesting for sure.
Uh,
We'll get there. We'll get
we'll
there.
get there. We'll
That said,
we'll get smoother every week. We'll never be perfect, but we'll get smoother every week.
awesome. That said, your shout out from the crick this week, Ed.
The shout out from the crick this week is for Random Diorama and his 1/18th scale 3D printed playset that he is offering through Hella Dope Toys at this moment. Terror free, hand designed, all designed by Radnom, all printed by Radnom, all assembled by Radnom. It's not painted. These are all actually multicolored prints. So the design and printing process is a little bit more involved than just hitting the button and going for it. The playsets are really, really well done. They go really well with Delta 17. And then if you go over to Punk with Toys Instagram, Hello Dope Toys, or uh, Random Dioramas Instagram, they have pictures that Punk took with like the GI Joe vintage 3 3/4 inch and a bunch of other stuff. He's got a couple of cool setups there. So, and this is just the beginning. So if you are a 1/18th world builder or whatever, and some of these parts do scale all right with 1/12 scale. The monitors are a little small, but you could still mount them on a wall and use them as a monitor. It's just the stands are a little short. So, but really cool set. And like I said, it's just the beginning. He's planning on doing things that expand it and scale it out. Adding some. He's got a railing that was an exclusive for the people that ordered during the show on Sunday night, which will probably become something that he offers later on, some extra railings and stuff in a kit or something like that. But that's down the road. But yeah, it's a really cool setup. So if you're interested in this, head over to Hello Dope Toys. They got more pictures over there. They got more pictures on the Punk with Toys channel, but 1/18 scale. So keep that in mind. Not a normal scale, but
Awesome.
still a good scale.
Awesome. That's good,
The
man.
you
And I was actually
this is
supposed
I
to
should
get this.
say this is not resin printing, which is what you're used to. This is
Yeah, this is like a PLA, I believe,
yeah
based on the printer settings I know he's using, or the printers that I believe he's beginning to use. They're those multi prints, so you can put 3, 4 colors on them.
yep
It swaps them. It requires the designing to account for, the design process a little bit more intricate. The printing process is a little bit more delayed, but it's all done through the printer. But the work that goes into designing it is now you have to account for what you want each thing, each layer
yeah.
of
And
color to
the
be.
other
And
part is that with like it's a $49.99 price tag, which might seem like a lot, but in today's world, it's really not for a playset.
no, not at all.
But a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of scrap involved, especially with the multicolor printing, because when you're designing, you got to design it so there's a layer, and then when it switches out, it's still got to clear out the nozzle of the color that's been using. So it's got to build a little blob of stuff and then go back to the black color. So when you're designing it, there's a lot of work involved as far as not creating too much waste.
Yeah, so I think what they call that when you called it a blob, that's probably a nicer way of saying print poop.
Yeah, they call it printer.
So the
Yeah,
it's printer poop. It's just little pieces that flake off because it's got a transition, and you don't want to get that like multicolored effect. So what it does is to drop it, but it's a more it requires some extra time in the prints, right? They enhance the speed of these printers because while I don't print in this myself, I've done the research into these, and I have a
right,
friend that
right,
does
right.
it besides Rod, and I'm locally that works with these, and I do know that they do have some excessive waste to switch between the colors, but there's things they can do to upcycle that if they want to get into the
Yeah,
nitty gritty. But it's a process. But either way, it's a cool approach, and the design's cool. And Random does some really cool stuff with Helidope. That's a really cool option to purchase from them. It's probably cool from a business. I think it's cool from a business standpoint, right? Because going back to the no tariff process, right? It's something you can get to use with your toys and accessory that maybe some folks may not be interested or as interested in during normal purchasing times, but
Right.
because of the fact that there's a lower supply of product coming in or a more costly side of products coming in, someone who happens to have all of the resin or the PLA, etc. on here can go ahead and generate a cool supporting or accessory line to expand their toys. So this is awesome. I love the creativity and the approach, and I love the hustle and business for sure.
Absolutely. Let me just bring up this chat real quick. I'm guessing it's Tiffany, and she's just jumping in to say hi and happy anniversary. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate you stopping to say that. And we'll put you on replay, I'm sure.
Awesome. I think your microphone's getting a little further away from you, Ed. I'm not sure if you.
The
Yeah.
battery.
What's that?
I said the battery might be dying, so I got my backup.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, with
I just
that
ordered
said,
I ordered a new PC and a new mic today. That's actually like a stand up one. Now I just got to wait for my
oh,
desk
nice,
to show up and get built.
nice, freaking awesome, awesome. So, are we gonna not get you sitting in the amazing chair?
Oh no, I'm bringing my chair with me.
Oh, okay, cool. Good
It,
deal.
it's
Good
too
deal.
it's too comfortable to let go. It's like
Awesome.
got my ass indent in it perfect, you know. So
Good deal. Good deal.
so anyway,
So,
if you like this, go over to Hello Dope Toys. You know, check out Rad Diorama on Friday nights on his late night craft and chill on his YouTube channel. He was assembling some of this, so if you tune in, you're going to get some sneak peeks of future offerings and things like that also. So
good deal.
that's it.
Awesome. And then we'll just go right on into the news here. So let me switch here and get this going here. So here we go. And this is the ToyLeet Network news for the week of May 28th, 2025. The plastic battlefield is heating up. From final reissues to modular warfare, from undead commanders to bounty hunters flying solo, the lines we love are evolving, reloading, and revealing just enough to keep collectors locked in and ready to strike. Some characters are making their last stand, while others are just getting started. And somewhere in the shadows, Dracula is leading the troops with fangs bared and loyalties blurred. Meanwhile, merch lines blur with streetwear, and Kickstarter campaigns stack higher than a convention hall backlog behind the poop line. Whether you're backing, pre ordering, army building, or just bracing for the next surprise drop, this is your broadcast. I'm Mr. Wonderful, and this is the ToyLeet Network News. So let's get into it. First up, we have some updates from Creative Beast Studios this week, and it's a light week on the news, so let's dive in here. You have Creative Beast Studios reveals a prototype of Cryolophosaurus, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, part of the latest Beasts of the Mesozoic batch. This detailed scope showcases the line continued commitment to realistic, articulated prehistoric creatures, and the pre-orders are up now for that on their site. You can see a couple more shots here in the follow-up. You can see these pins, and again, these are just some rough. These are the rough kind of resin cuts, etc. of these. You can see the pins and the joints, but it just gives you kind of some of the process as they're going through. I got another one here where you can see some of the additional articulation. You're gonna have multiple articulation points in the neck. The additional ones in the arms. You're noticing there's like a waist swivel and some tail articulation as has come to be the standard in the Creative Beast Studio lines. Up next, we got a little update from Delta 17. Here you'll see that they have announced that their 2025 GeoFest exclusive figure will be revealed this Friday during a Toy Connections live stream at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can confirm with 100% certainty this is not a Bret Hart figure. It is not Bret Hart. It will be something Delta 17 related. I know that these Canadians love their Bret Hart, but it will not be Bret Hart this time. The stream will include details on the figures, the pricing, and the post-show availability. So stick around for an after show from the with podcast from the pit for a deeper dive into exclusive Joe Fest preparations. I believe with Punk, if I have everything detailed properly there. Next, we have the Four Horsemen couple updates they've shared here. You can see they have their All-Star 6 lineup. They did receive a bunch of this in. I believe it was the All-Ins. I have not seen confirmation that they've got the individual batches in. I believe it is just the All-Ins that have been received and begin shipping or working on getting that prepared. These features the reissues of Shadowhorn, Gorthok, Clavian, and Sir Ignatius, the first All-Star alumni. These are straight reissues aside from the packaging, though the fan photographer, just for note, anything's posable, did add some belt pack accessories in some of his promo shots that you'll see on the screen here. All in sets have shipped. Individual figures are en route to the warehouse, from what I understand, and limited pre-order supplies remain through select retailers. You can go ahead and check those out. One of the ones that I would recommend is Hello Dope Toys. Check and see if they still have those available. Another screen showing off a couple of the other ones. Really cool figures. Really like the one on the right here. That ogre looking dude is pretty cool. I can't wait to get mine. Quick update from Fresh Monkey Fiction. They announced that the World of Eagle Force, which we've been previewing in previous weeks' news updates, is on its way. Pre-orders are expected to launch the week of Joe Fest 2025. So just in a few weeks, those should become available. The line includes multiple themed subgroups, including some Operation Monster Force, Voyagers, Liberty, Legions, and the Star Commanders. Again, you can get these pre-orders in through Big Bad Toy Store, as it's part of the Fresh Monkey Fiction and Big Bad Workshop collaboration. Quick update from Patriot Force. I believe today is the 28th, and we have their Kickstarter starting on the 30th at 7 p.m., so just a couple days. Here you'll see on screen the hand-painted 3D prototype of a stretch goal figure, U.S. Army, retired veteran. It's Chad of YouTube. You may or may not be familiar with him, but he's around the local community. My interaction with him has been always pleasant. He's a cool dude. I haven't met him in person. Seems to really enjoy his 1/18th plastic, but let's be honest, he's always been a closet 1/12 fan. As you can see here, he comes to life in a 1/12 scale figure through this Kickstarter, which again launches in just about 2 days, just under 48 hours at this point. They also shared one other update. One of their final stretch goals will be this Motor Pit battle set. As you can see in the picture, it's kind of like 4 quadrants, connects together. The platforms actually have pegs on them so that they can work with your figures. They do show some previews on their Instagram, which highlight working with some of the G.I. Joe figures. So it's safe to assume that the peg holes on the Patriot Force figures should match and be similar. But you can see it's a modular set kind of designed to connect with future forward operating base pieces, expanding battlefield displays, so you're not only putting your figures on the shelf, but having the ability to kind of give some display and diorama approaches to it. It'll be compatible with third-party add-ons like those from Gridiron Studios, allowing for enhanced customization and realism. Up next, we got a little preview from Valaverse. We have the Vala Air 1s, as was shown earlier this week. They're hinting towards some sort of custom style sneakers, potentially putting this online, so maybe you can buy just a set of sneakers to swap out with your figures if you wanted to make more Street Force or whatever figures you may be looking to modify. I think it's an interesting concept, but it allows them to kind of expand on what they already have. It'll be interesting to see. Again, Valaverse has been very, I don't want to say cryptic, as that's not maybe the best word, but they've been interestingly doing a lot of previewing of what may be coming soon. I think, and again, I have no insider information here, I think we're probably closer to seeing some things in hand than maybe, and I shared this with you last week, Ed, when we were talking. I think we may be closer to seeing some things in production and here in the shores than maybe others believe. And the reason I think that is because Bobby Vala has previously mentioned a number of times wanting to get to a point where you weren't doing pre-orders for months and months and months in advance of your products, but to the point where the business was established strong enough to be able to bring those figures to the shores and then place the orders basically as they were pending, coming in, whether they're in customs or whatnot. So very very cool. And again, previewing. We'll see what happens. Again, these are just guesses on my part and thoughts based on what has been hinted towards in years past, and where they are. And since we haven't seen too much new product from them over the last several months, and nothing official, I have some strong inclinations that that may be the case. But that said, that's the news, straight from the desk of the ToyLeet Network News, where reissues find closure, monsters find redemption, and a motor pit might just complete your shelf war zone. Because around here, we don't just collect stories, we unleash them, one figure at a time. So until next time, keep your poses bold, your customs cursed, and your kicks action force approved. I'm Mr. Wonderful, signing off from the only network where the mission is always articulated. Oop, my bad. Ed, do we have anything from the chat we need to go over?
Absolutely. First of all, we have somewhere up here. Menhoza's here. What's up, Menhoza? Thanks for popping in, my man. And then we have Nolan saying he's curious to see the new Delta 17 figure. You're going to love anybody that's a 1/18th collector is going to really enjoy them. They're pretty cool looking figures. I've seen a sneak peek, of course. But yeah, they're definitely going to be. I think they're going to be sought after at Joe Fest for sure for anybody that's a 1/18th
Nice.
collector because they're really cool looking. Um, and Brick confirming, yes, it is just the all ins for the Mythic Legions. The others will ship in August. And our buddy John, Emerald Knight Photos, is stopping by to say hi. What's up, John? And that's it, my man.
Good deal. Awesome. So with that said, we're gonna go into this week's main topic here. So 1 year anniversary, right? Why am I getting a timer? I did not click timer. Sorry. That said, we have the 1 year anniversary, how we got here, right? So oh, you know what? Let's talk about that, right? Nolan, can we pull that up from Nolan? Toy
Absolutely.
adjacent new Fall of Grayskull 2 funded. Yeah, so I wasn't as close to that, but I do want to go back and watch the Fall of Grayskull. Get the first one. I know that I'm pretty sure that was successful, and that's why we're doing the second. They're doing the second one. I know Mega J was hyping that up quite a bit, and there's quite a few people in the different groups that I'm a part of. So I didn't back that. I do want to check it out because they done a really cool job with the presentation of what I've seen. I just haven't gotten around to digging in, but it's definitely up my alley for sure. Awesome.
Nolan bringing us the
So
news.
awesome. Nolan's news. So we did it,
No good
guys.
news like
Full.
Nolan. Good news.
We did it. 52 episodes. A full year of ToyLeet Takeover, from late night live streams and pre order madness to heated debates and your wildest toy room reveals, right? We haven't done the toy room reveals as much. I've shown off some things, but we've been getting there. ToyLeet's been a movement, right? We've been steadily and collectively bringing things forward, right? So tonight we're going to kind of pull back the curtain a bit. We're going to talk about how it all started, kind of spotlighting some of our favorite episodes, some of our ToyLeet of the Year awards, our Toilet of the Year awards, and talk about what comes next, right? Kind of how do we move forward for season 2 or episode 53, year 2, etc. That said, Ed, Axion, Eric, my
Eric.
co-host, um, did you think we'd still be doing this a year later?
I figured we would be. I think from where we started, and this show started with Luke and I, and it was called Conversations from the Crick. And when Luke joined the Air Force, you and I had always talked about doing a show. So I asked if you wanted to come and do the show with me, and not just be a co-host, but be part of the show for real. And you happily obliged, and have done all sorts of good things with your artwork and building the slides and everything else. So I want you to know that I absolutely appreciate that because I suck at building slides. So I think from where we started to where we are now, I would not. I didn't doubt that we'd be here, but I didn't think that we'd have the structured uh, show that we have now.
Good deal. Good deal. I love it, man. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not going to claim to be a major artist, right? Like I leverage technology to assist me with this stuff because I don't have that artistic. I have a vision. My vision, I'm not necessarily able to do and get from brain to hand, but I can put it from brain to words and type those out. So, that prompting works for me. I'm not going to claim to be an expert or an artist by any sense of me because I'm definitely not. That said, Ed, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about the toy community since launching this?
About the toy community,
Yeah,
oof.
ToyLeet community, ToyLeet community. Sorry, dig a bit
Our
deeper.
toy community sucks,
Targeted.
man. They're a bunch of jerks in this place. I'll tell you. Everybody's got an opinion, you know. Not really. We have an awesome group of regular viewers, and then we got a really great group of people that pop in when they can, and um, our friendships that we've developed through this, between you and I and everybody else, um, it's one of those things that you just don't really think about when you're, starting out in this kind of thing, right? You're just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to do a show and BS a little bit, and next thing you know, you're talking to people about serious things going on in their actual personal lives, and it expands farther than just plastic and paper. So I think probably the biggest thing I learned is that there's a lot of really good people, even though like everything else in the world, you hear a lot about the negative drama and everything else. There's a lot of good people in the entire toy community and our ToyLeet community. I think we have a great, awesome group of people.
Absolutely, I would second that for sure. Definitely, it's been a heck of a ride, and I'd say one of the things that I've learned about the toilet community is supportive,
Yep.
very supportive, right? Just a good group of people. I you know from the moment I came into the area, before even Toilet, right? People backed, supported, me, had my back, all that stuff. But what I would say is, since the show, when there was bumps and things, other folks stepped in, helped out, things like
Oh
that,
yeah,
kept us moving along, allowed us to get to episode 52,
that's
closer to the year mark than what would have been if we weren't able to keep the show floating along, and whatnot. So yeah, it's been a great community and a great year. What I have I'm happy. I love it. I love what's coming next, because it's
yes,
going to allow us to expand on what we do, and we're constantly trying to elevate our production quality, right,
yeah. And
and
some
get
of the
us
things we got,
get us
some of the things
better.
we got coming next, will kind of explain or provide a little more context into the whole toilet network type of thing that we're trying to start
Exactly.
here. So let me say hi to a couple people real quick that just popped in.
Please, please, yeah, absolutely.
So Action Joe Figs is here. He says he's looking forward to the show exclusive for DFW GI Joe next month. Yes, he'll be there because I believe he's from like the San Antonio area. So a trip to Dallas is a lot closer than a trip to Augusta, Georgia. What's up, Action Figs? And then Troy's here, TD3 Trooper. What's up, my dudes? What's up, Troy? Thanks for popping in, brother. And
Awesome.
that is all of it. I keep forgetting to
Good
turn these
deal.
off.
Nah, they go off after 12 seconds. I can set the timer down to less than that. I did find that out before.
Oh, we got one more person jumping in here.
Sig
Sig
Toy.
Toy Arts.
Thank you.
What's up, man? Congratulations, guys. And Action Joe Fig saying congrats as well.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, the chat's just a little different, so we'll get used to it. And
Yeah, it's the whole thing, and everything's backwards. Used to having on
yeah,
right, left, and all that stuff. Be cool if they let us adjust it, but hey, it is what it is, right? So before we go, because we already kind of hinted towards there's things coming, right? But before
right.
we go forward, let's go backwards. Let's rewind to where it all started, right? A mic, a camera, an idea concept, and way too many figures in the background, right? Way too much plastic inside boxes and plastic, and way too many figures in bags and buckets and all that fun stuff. But there really wasn't a master plan, just a passion for collecting and a desire to connect with people who get it.
Yeah,
And
you and
even
I
though the
started
first,
talking about doing a show at PowerCon or shortly thereafter, and that was in
yep,
2023. And
yeah,
then like I said, I was doing the show with Luke, and this kind of fell into place, and I think it's been a great trip since then.
For sure, yeah. Even though the first stream really, I mean, we had a decent amount of people there, right? Like we had like
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly how many folks, but we were lucky. And again, that goes back to our first point on this whole thing, right? Looking back, is that the community, right? Very
yeah,
supportive. We had a ton of people, for two schmucks. Let's be honest,
yep,
right? That are just
yep.
talking about plastic. We were just having a good time, right? So, and now we have a consistent 20 or so people that are listening to us live. We get 100 plus people watching the stream throughout the course of the days. I think with what comes next, um, we're gonna continue to see that growth. And even if we don't, we're having a fun time with the people that are with us,
Right.
and those
I
that roll
think
with us
that's
roll with us.
I think that's the one thing that I will pat ourselves on the back for, is that no matter what our viewership has been like, and it's been pretty consistent from the beginning, like you said, 20 in in the live, and anywhere from 80 to 100 throughout the week. You know, we've stuck true to what we decided we were going to do. From the beginning. Yes, we've added some things. We've popped some things in there, like we've kept the shout out from the crick from way back when. But you and I said we were going to cover the indies. We were going to do topics that weren't normally talked about in the toy community, as far as like the main topics a lot of people shows, and you and I've stuck to that. So I think that's something that we can pat ourselves on the back for.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think that's good, man. I think that's good. We didn't know each other before this. This is a connection made through Hella Dope Toys and
Yeah.
3POA, right? Like, well, those are the
Yep.
chats we were rolling in early on that brought us here. Um, Common collecting of 1/12th military line that like dove into some other stuff, which got into the fantasy stuff, and then it was dio building, right? I think that's where
Yep.
we really started talking, and the
Yep.
hexastack stuff, and all of that really brought us in. We just and then PowerCon, you were there, and we you manned my booth at times when I had to make the I had to go to the poop line, those things, right? You know. Those things, right? So it's a great
I figured
connection.
we were pretty
ToyLeet,
good when
right?
you
Like,
left your son with me, and trust me not to,
yeah,
steal his toys on him. So
exactly, exactly. Yeah, well, I knew Ted and Aaron were sitting right over there, and I knew they were packing heat. So if anything went down, you were gonna get nerfed. So there was that. But yeah, absolutely. Um, the next piece, right, is going right. So like we want to talk about like what our favorite episodes were, right? Like let's now that
yeah,
we've talked about how we got there over the course of the last 52 episodes, we've had a number of different topics. Some of them have been kind of fly by the seat of our pants, but some of them have been much more thought provoking and dive deeper into the history or context there, or bringing a special guest on. So I know you, Ed, you talked about your two favorites were looking here, it was the therapeutic toys and toy restoration. So
yeah.
why were these your picks?
So the toy restorations, of course, that's kind of my history in the past, with toys. When I really got into, I mean, I've always been a collector, but like one of the things I was always passionate about is I used to restore vintage GI Joes, restring them, clean the bodies up, reflocking, and all that stuff, and then along with other vintage toys, I've always just been kind of one of those people that you know, my son used to bring home toys from his friends so I could fix them if they were broken, at school, right? His friends would send the toy home. I'd take a couple days, figure out how to fix it, and send it back to the kid, right? So that kind of always just been like a passion of mine, and something that's, it's always kind of been there. So it's just part of the hobby for me. But I thought it was a good episode too, because we talked a lot about a good, we talked about a lot of different good ideas for restorations, and left a lot of good tips out there for people. In
Absolutely.
toy therapy,
Absolutely.
that's just, I mean, I'm very much into the therapy, and treating yourself kind, treating everybody else kind, and just spreading love all over the place, and hugging trees. And you got to do that when you play with your toys at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, my two favorite shows, believe it or not, like yourself, right? You picked an earlier one, which was interesting, right? You picked episode 8, which is going
Yep.
back, and then you picked episode 49. I picked episode 50, which is, just 2 episodes ago, and I picked episode 11. And I thought it was interesting, right? Like, there's a bunch of good episodes in between there, but it's interesting. Like, there's one that stands out to us early, and then there's one that stands out to us more recently. I'll start with the more recent, and I think everybody knows why. It was wrestling, and I was geeking out. I was loving it. Ed, you and I have talked offline. It's been getting my mind like running like crazy. I think it's so cool. I'm really excited for El Dragoon. Like I am like that is a Kickstarter that just touches like really close to home for me because of the whole wrestling thing. Don't get me wrong, I love all the other Kickstarters I backed, but I'm now again bringing like I love the fantasy stuff. I love the AWOC and the anthropomorphic. All that stuff's great. I love all that stuff. But what's behind me is wrestling. What's in front of me will always be wrestling. My kids take part in it. We love it. So having that is just awesome. Mega J is great. Danny Green was awesome. I love what they're
Yeah.
doing. We geeked out. I think there was some references of the Y Files and Hecklefish, which is like
Oh
something
yeah.
I watch all the time. So it was like
Yeah. We're
really cool. So
that
definitely
episode
geeking
was
out.
was
And
not just about El Dragoon. There was conspiracy theories
lizard
and
people.
everything else.
Exactly. So it was cool. So that was a great one. And the next one, and it's funny because I think you picked 2 episodes that we didn't have a guest for, and I
Yep.
picked 2 episodes that we did have guests for. Which says, Ed, I think you're not good enough to keep
I
me satisfied. No, no, no. I kid. But the other one was Yojo June, and I like that one because
I almost picked
I
that
got,
one. I almost picked
did
that
you?
one. Yep.
So I really enjoyed that one. One because we had a Punk with Toys, we had Largo,
F and Largo.
and we had who was the other?
Skunkworks Studios. Jeff.
Skunk. I couldn't think. I was gonna say Shark, but it's Skunkworks. Yeah, so it's Skunkworks. So to me, that was one of my favorites because of the fact that one, it's gonna become an annual tradition. Hint, hint. 2 more weeks, we're gonna be doing that. We're gonna get some guests in. We're gonna talk about Joe Fest. But we decided because it was such a fun time having those folks on, it also allowed me to play moderator, not so much host co-host, which I really enjoyed being able to just sit back and kind of spit questions out and just dig in and listen and have that. I didn't have to do so much mouth moving. It was 2 ears, one mouth. I got to listen, just ask a question, and then those guys were fielding it. So it was really cool to
We
kind of
we should, we
have
should have
that.
congratulated you when we were done that you were actually able to shut up long enough for people to answer. So
Punk did after the show when we went to the green room after. He said, "You did a good job not talking," and I'm like, That's coming from you, Punk. I appreciate
right.
that. That says a lot. No, but yeah,
Nothing
no,
but
it was
love,
cool. It
right?
was a good show. Yeah, exactly. So it was a great show. So those are the reasons I like those. You kind of covered why you enjoyed your shows. Is there any behind the scenes stories from those recordings or those shows that you can think of that come to mind? I can't think of any on the 2 that you spoke of. Obviously, episode 50 and episode 11, there was some behind the scenes stuff that happened in the green room before and after. I'm not going to talk about those because I can't. I'm sworn to
Right.
secrecy.
I will say that Danny Green came on for the El Dragoon show, what, probably 20 minutes before the show started, something like that. And
Yeah.
I'd never met Danny before. And within 15 minutes, he's one of those guys that could probably be your best friend, right? On top of
Yep.
like his love for wrestling and toys and comics and stuff like that, right? He's just a really open guy. Him and I talked about, Sasquatch and some cryptid animals and other
Yep.
conspiracies. And then we are talking about wrestling and action figures and stuff, right? And he's just like one of those guys that 5 minutes, you could be best friends with the guy. So, I
Yep.
mean, probably
Absolutely.
behind the scenes, that's, other than the things that we can't really talk about behind the scenes, that's, probably one of the
Exactly.
best things in the green room. I do have to
We'll
ask a
definitely do.
question. Who are these
Yeah.
people on your picture?
Oh, I don't know. It was generative AI. It
Okay.
just like it did it based on the prompt. Um, I kind of thought the guy up in the right with glasses reminded me of the dude you went to Joe Fest with,
Well,
kind
that's what I
of
thought.
ish.
It looks like Rob, and then the guy on the bottom
Yeah.
opposite looks like Luke.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it could be. I didn't prompt it that way. It's just what it spit out, man. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't do it.
pretty
It's just
good.
what it put together for me. Um, cool. So then the next one,
Well, hold on. Let's
we're gonna
let's hit the
talk
chat
about.
real quick. We got a couple
Oh
just
yeah,
good
go for it.
comments. Action Joe Fig saying Almost forgot to thank Ed for the 1/6 love. Yeah, definitely love the 1/6 scale, brother. Always. Action Joe Figs pops into Radnom's channel once in a while, also. Not sure if
Gotcha.
these toys are indie or not, but have you seen the Jada Toy Street Fighter figs? They look awesome. Jetman, they are awesome. I don't have all of them, but I have quite a few of them. Um, and they are incredible figures. Balance well, pose well, just great stuff. Um, Action Joe Fig saying, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you very much, man. And Menhoz is saying that he started customizing again because of his son wanting old figures or fixing his broken toys. Uh, for sure. Yeah.
And I was just showing this in
Oh,
response
you
to
got
GI
Guile?
Jetman. I got Guile. I got DJ.
Yeah.
I got Cammy. I got every one of them that's come out except for like Bison and some of those ones right now. I didn't
Yeah.
get those just because of timing. But what I will tell you is, GI Jetman, if you want to get something else that works great with the Street Fighter, are these Tekken figures. I don't know if Helidope still has any of them. They may or may not. I know they had some at one time, but the Tekken figures are perfect scale, and they do a really great job with the articulation, and it's almost as if Jada made them. So,
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the Scooby Doo series from Jada Toys.
oh yeah. Jada's great. They do awesome. Yeah, I don't consider them independent. They're definitely mainstream. You'll definitely see on the stream some pickups. I'll probably open one of those for next week, in preparation for my ToyLeet or Toilet segment. But I don't know which one, so leave it to as a surprise. But I definitely gee, I like those guys. They do a great job, and I
Yep.
was very disappointed that I didn't see them get the Mortal Kombat license, because if they did, that would be freaking awesome.
Especially for a company that came out of nowhere with action figures, right? We all know Jada
Yeah,
Toys for
because they've been around.
the the die cast stuff, and they make the miniature figures
Yep.
to go with their die cast. But to just pop out these amazing 1/12 scale action figures out of nowhere, it's like holy shit.
Yep. Yep. So on this slide, I'm just kind of trying to cover. Oh, is Nolan got something? Sorry.
He was just saying, yeah, he can't wait for the Scooby Doo. Also, yeah, one pre-order, definitely, dude. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that they eventually do a mystery machine. Because
Oh, that would
as
be
much as
cool.
I love the misery machine
Misery
that
Machine.
Ramen Toys did out with Zika, it's I want
Yeah.
it to be a little more of the cartoon style van, a little more cartoony looking, and
Yep.
because the figures have that, they didn't Jada didn't make the figures look realistic. They made them look like the cartoon figures. So I mean, you don't want to have
Absolutely.
some.
Yeah. I don't
Jetman,
think.
real
I
quick,
don't think
one more
they.
thing.
Yeah.
I thought they'd fit okay with classified because Joe did Street Fighter O rings in the '90s, but Punk said no. Well,
Yeah.
as far as fit goes, like they scale perfectly. And you know what? It's your world, so don't let Punk tell you what to do in it, man.
Well,
Jeez,
the
that
the new
Punk, I
ones.
tell you,
The new ones
thinks he
don't. They
runs
don't
the
scale
show.
perfectly with the Joes, do they? They don't scale perfectly with the Joes. I mean, they're
I
height
mean,
wise, but their bulkiness is definitely, and the color.
yeah, you can
So, like
definitely
for me,
tell
I'm particular.
their feet are bigger and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I mean, like, is it Fei Long, the Bruce Lee looking dude? I always get this. Yeah,
Yeah.
Fei
Yeah.
Long.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got regular size feet. He's got he'd fit
Okay.
in with Joe, right? I mean, he could fight quick kick without a problem. And yes, some
I
of them
didn't.
though
I
have
didn't
really
share.
really big bulky
Yeah.
feet. So
I didn't have them intermingle. I didn't let that plastic play together. I went and got the Tekken ones because I thought they would hit really well, and they actually do. They work really good for it. I mean, I wasn't a huge Tekken fan. I wasn't a huge Street Fighter guy. I was a Mortal Kombat guy, but I like the work that was done by those two lines. And more specifically, I did go into what was called media play back in the day when I was like 11, 12 years old, and play the Tekken on whatever system it was that Tekken was on. I don't even
yeah,
remember what system it was, PlayStation
God,
or
media
Sega
play, Jesus.
something. CDO, I don't know what it was called, but whatever system it was, and we would just play Tekken all day. Like we'd sit in there waiting for movies and play that game for free because it was like an arcade, but you didn't have to pay for it. So yeah, we got kicked out of there plenty of times. So yeah, moving on. This one right here, kind of just from the early days, kind of figuring out what the show would be, right? To today, one thing really always been clear, right? It's showing up every week matters.
Yep.
The crick, as they say, is chaos, but it's our chaos. and every week we've built something slightly stronger, something stronger, right? So even when, we're punching through, we've had a delay sometimes. This week's an example, right? We had some things, some technology changes, some
Yeah.
preparation we're trying to do, wanted to do it right, not right now, right? So we pushed it out a day. We hijacked it from our buddy Kenzo, and again, sorry, Kenzo. We
Yep.
weren't trying to steal your watchers. We're also not trying to deplete ours. So for those that tuned in, we appreciate you catching the replay. We appreciate you again. But that said, for you, Ed, what's been the most meaningful interaction you've had with someone in our community?
I've had a lot, man. I'd say one of the things, as far as the whole community goes, would be like, doing Thursday with a friend with Punk. I do work for the Hella Dope guys just from being in their chat. I started out in their chat, just a regular chat member, and then they asked me to be their moderator, and I've been their moderator for a little almost 2 years now. Um, I've been really close, became really close to those two guys. Done some work for them outside of just moderating. Done some work for their actual toy company. So the fact that they trust me with their business, I have the keys to the back room. I mean, so it's even today, right? When I'm not doing a lot of work for them because of the situation with tariffs and everything. So, um, and then like the whole clubhouse community. You got Brick something and Nolan and Oz. Oz is Oz, right? I mean, he's just an amazing human being. Aaron, paints toy samples. All those guys from the clubhouse that I've become friends with. It's just not anything I figured would ever happen as
Yeah,
I was 49 or 50 when it all started with those guys, right? So those guys I consider, you know, you included, some of my best friends that I have. So
absolutely, man. Absolutely, definitely. I feel like I talk to you and some of these guys through the chats almost as much, if not more, than I talk to some of my local,
oh yeah,
friends.
absolutely.
Just because we have so much in common, and there's always something coming up, and and I'm not talking about just because we have the show, but just in the side chats. And I know the last couple of
Oh
weeks
yeah.
things have been a little bit busier, so we haven't had as much. I know you were a little under the weather last week. I was busy and swamped with things. So, but genuinely, I think we do a great job connecting with each other and stuff. But um, that
Like I
said.
said in the beginning, right? It's gone past just like, hey Travis, did you see the new Mythic Legions figure or new whatever, right? It's gone way past that, right? And that's not just with me and you.
Absolutely.
It's with Oz and Brick, and we talk
Yeah.
about things that are really affecting life, let alone
Yep.
you know the toy world.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Same thing. Brick. Chat with him on the side a number of times. Not Ed. Ted and Aaron. Talking to them about some things. They've been great, and Oz and so many people. Brian. Talking to him a ton.
Oh
Toy.
yeah, and I got I don't want to
Endless
leave him
Fables.
out because uh, over the last year especially, Random Diorama,
Yeah.
Radnam and I have become real close, and him and I talk, usually once a day. Sometimes it's him asking me about my opinion on some of the stuff he's doing. Other times it's about personal things going on in life,
Yeah.
with my life or his mom, is older that he takes care of, and just things like that, right? And it's just amazing how things can grow.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say Punk with Toys, right?
Yeah.
He, from PowerCon, straightforward, right? I went on his show one time before that, Thursday with a
Yep.
friend early on, and then, you know, uh, met him at PowerCon, had a great time hanging out and chatting and having some waters because we don't drink beers, right? So it was a good
Right.
time hanging out,
I think Nolan says it best right
Yeah,
here. Technology brought us together, and friendship keeps us together. Hundred
absolutely.
percent.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and the other thing is, I gotta shout this guy out for this is a punk with toys, right? I've never had someone I would consider a friend, as good of a friend, that ignores my phone calls on Monday nights as much as a punk with toys does. I've never been, I mean, I married young. I married young, but I've never been ghosted nearly as much as I have by that guy. With all seriousness, he's an awesome guy though. But yeah. So, do you think, Ed, we've carved out a unique space here in the YouTube toy community? A little different than everybody else?
I would say our unique
Can't hear you.
space.
Oh, there you go.
I, I would say our unique space is definitely there. You know, our show has been a little different than a lot of them that are out there. A lot of people still cover the same type of topics, whether it's a new release or a Kickstarter. And yes, we do that. But um, I said we try to, do topics that are not the normal topics, right? Like things that we miss, things that are nostalgic, how to fix your toys. Like one of our best shows that we did that, as far as views goes was the, you know, how to survive a con, right? And that show was very well received. And there's a lot
Yeah,
of people that'll brush over it and stuff like that, but we did a deep dive, and I think it was really good success. And we've carved out our little area, and people that are here with us, it's all because of them.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think we've done a good job. Keep it unique. We stuck to what we originally wanted to stick to. You already alluded to that, right?
Yep.
Is we've stayed true to the, independent stuff, focusing on the core there. We bridge that gap for folks, and we talk about where we spend our dollars for the most part, and then we champion those in the community, and we stick to that main topic, which we try to rotate through some unique things, bring guests on that folks want to hear from. And I mean, I don't mean to sound selfish or focus on myself and you, but the guests we bring on are people we want to talk to, right?
Right.
Hopefully those people that we want to talk to are people that are fan, our support, the followers, the subscribers want to hear from too. Hopefully we do a good job communicating that, from the folks over at El
Space
Dragoon
Zombies from
and
Mars.
then Space Zombies from Mars. Yeah, I mean those were
Yeah.
great conversations. Like
Yep.
I don't want it to be just
Yeah,
because we
and
didn't mention Space Zombies with Mars. That was great. I had an awesome time talking to them.
yeah, kicking it farther down the road with that, right? Like you do a very good job of setting up great questions for them to answer. You do a really good job with the interviewing process, right? And like you said about like the Joe June show we did, right? You kind of like that thing, right? You kind of like that vibe where you can kind of uh, be the host, the real host, right? And ask the questions and get the
Moderator,
answers.
moderator,
Yeah, the
right?
moderator, exactly, right?
Yeah,
Um, you said
yeah.
something about somebody, and I was going to say something, and I forget what it is now, though. But it'll probably come
Space
back to
Zombies
me.
from Mars, El Dragoon.
No, before that, it was about we were talking about punk.
Oh, he ghosts me every Monday night from 9 to
Yeah,
12:15. I don't ever hear from him.
he no sells it. I didn't see that phone
Yeah,
call
and
come
he
in.
knows. In the beginning, he used to look at it. Now
Yeah,
he just like
yeah,
I'm not even not acknowledging it. He's probably got his iPhone trained to just
yeah,
like ignore my phone calls on Mondays from 9 to 12. No, yeah, good deal.
yeah,
Moving on. That's kind of we already started talking about this, and I think this is the perfect time to just kind of say thank you. Thank you to everyone listed on the screen here from, a Skunkworks Studios, a Punkwood Toys, Emerald Knight. That was a great conversation. Photography with him.
yep,
Random. I think he's been on a couple. No, he's been on one time on this. He's been on a bunch of times in Helidope, and I feel like I'm right there with him. And he's been on
yep.
the Saturday night stuff a bunch. So, and I jump into his chat sometimes and just chat with him. But yeah, thank you, Random. Brick something. I don't think there's anybody on YouTube that sounds smoother than Brick. He just has a voice for the ears. So no, Brick's awesome. Love what he does.
Yeah,
Love
Brick's
chatting
got
with
the
him.
whole
He's always
package. He's
there.
got a face for TV and a voice for radio.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Largo, I haven't heard too much from him recently. I know he's in and out at times, but
Yep,
Largo and we talk the same language. There might be there might be a couple years between us, but we talk the same language. He shares things with me. I share things with him. He's very helpful, gives guidance. And he also he's got a voice for radio too. He does a great job with that. Love having him on and hearing what he's got going on. Love listening to his streams. He does a great job. Oz. I don't think there's anybody in the community that I've seen, and this isn't a diss on anybody or put not recognizing others, but I don't think I've seen anybody else in the community that's always there for someone and people. He's
yeah,
always trying to help people. From the moment I kind of started chatting with people. He was like, dude, let's get you here, there. And that's
Yep.
not just me, but I see him do that with so many people, no matter what it is. So Oz is always doing stuff. Joe G, I don't think there's anybody that the Four Horsemen rely on or are more dependent than. you know, like, no, I kid. Joe G's just good dude, good conversations, very cool to hang out with and chill, right? Hella
Yeah.
dope toys. I mean, that's like, who doesn't thank their dealer? I mean, if you don't, you've messed up.
That's right.
Those guys always there supporting people,
And
doing a good
like you said,
job.
right, the Hello Dope boys, their chat, we owe a lot of our friendships just between us, right? Between you and I,
Yeah,
and that's where I met Largo. That's where I met Oz. It's just kind of
yeah,
their show has brought a lot of us together, um,
a hundred
and
percent.
the shows off site of that have brought us together tighter.
Exactly. Pain toy sample, right? Like, thank you. He's not as active as he once was. Obviously life comes at us and we deal with it, but, due to so supportive, covered for me, stepped in when I wasn't able to. So thankful for that. Pain, Luke, whoever that guy is.
Yeah,
no,
whoever that guy is.
Luke, we wouldn't have for the Creek if it wasn't for you and him kicking things off and doing
Yeah,
things earlier. And, thanks Luke for
that's
stepping aside and letting me step in.
that's what I was going to say about you're talking on the last screen about like the community and stuff, right? Like one of the things that I'm thankful that you let us keep, not that you let us, but I mean like you agreed to keep going with because you saw the importance of it from the original show was a shout out from the Crick, right? Like just promoting those other people in the community, that are sharing, not, and it's not even people that are doing anything for us, right? It's not the people that are sharing our content or coming on and helping us with the show or anything like that. These are just our buddies, our friends, people out there in the community that are just doing awesome things for the community.
Yeah, in some cases, and I don't want to say they're not our friends. They may not be our closer friends,
Right, right.
right? They're people we know, and we're championing because we think what they're doing is cool. And we've even thrown it out there to the community that follows us and subscribes, watches us every week. That if you have someone that you think is doing something cool, we may not see it because there's a lot of people. Like, so you said this earlier, right, Ed? Is that there's a lot of crap, right? There's a lot, and I knew this from back when I was into just wrestling figures, and I just was on those forums. A lot of toxicity, a lot of messiness. There's some helping hands out there, but there's a lot of crap, and it's even in this community, the broader toy community. So sometimes the people doing some really cool stuff doesn't always draw attention. It doesn't always get the recognition it should. So those that do follow, sub, and all that stuff, hit us up, send us a message. If you have somebody that you think you'd like to have shouted out because they're doing something cool, tell us because we like cool stuff, and
Yeah.
maybe it's something we just didn't catch and we didn't follow and we didn't see, or maybe it's the algorithm hasn't pushed it up to the top of our list recently. So please, definitely, somebody asked before, can you nominate? Yes, you can absolutely nominate. Send it over to ToyLeet on Instagram, and your nomination will be considered. And if we don't have somebody up that week that we want to champion right then, more than happy to champion something being done cool. That said, we got Mega J Retro, Danny Green. We already talked and covered them. One of my favorite episodes. Why? Because it was wrestling related and it was awesome. And we talked lizard people and hecklefish. So that was awesome. Arlen,
Yes.
Ira, and Highly Articulated was a great show. I still think I could have been backer one if Highly Articulated didn't sabotage me. But hey, it happens. No, that was a great show. It was cool people doing cool work. I know it didn't fun, but I hope it does in the future with the next iteration of whatever that is. I think those guys from Talking in the Green Room have some really cool stuff that they want to do, and I'm fully on board to support that. So just want to say thank you to all of those folks, and hopefully I didn't miss anyone. I think I got everyone covered here, Ed,
Yeah, I think we got
based on
everybody that was
the
on the
list you
list.
gathered.
So,
So just want to say thank you to all of those folks, and you made the show better just for being here. So thank you.
yeah,
That
absolutely,
said,
100%. Thank you.
yeah, is there anybody from the list that you'd like to bring back or collaborate with again in year two?
Well, I'd like to have the. I think the Joe Fest panel was a good panel because um, like when we originally planned it, right? Punk's really a classified guy and a vintage Joe guy as far as the real American hero. Largo
Yep.
kind of spreads across like myself, vintage 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s classified Joe. And then Jeff is really a vintage 12-inch GI Joe guy with some really good
Yeah, for sure.
customizing stuff. And we
Absolutely.
appreciate that,
Nah,
Jet
you're
man.
awesome, dude.
You're
Thank you.
awesome too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I gotta go catch a replay of one of his shows. I haven't had a chance to, but I'm gonna be working on that deck again tomorrow. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna stream up on listen to his Marvel Villains thing that he did the other day. So
I mean, any
um,
one of these guests I would bring back on because they're all awesome guys. We always have, we don't try to have guests on regularly, but every time we've had guests on, it's always turned into a great conversation, right? So,
oh, for sure. Right, because, and that's not critical of other people. There's other people that have guests on all the time, and I think they do a great job with them.
yeah,
But we want it to be a little different, right? We want to make those guests impactful, right? We want to
right.
help champion the independent toys, like the retro, like the El Dragoon stuff with those guys, the Space Zombies from Mars, you know, the other folks came on because they were hyping up something about the main topic, those types of things. So it's always good. So we definitely plan and intend to have guests again. And some of these ones will definitely be back for sure. Absolutely. I can't see there might be one person on there I wouldn't have back on the show. But that's just because I don't need two of you in this chat again. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Are you
No.
talking about Luke?
Yeah, Luke's awesome. No, 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 no. It was you. It was you, Ed. It was you.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Eric show up more often than Ed
No, you
because
want Eric
Eric is
back?
way
All right.
cooler. Yeah.
Let me
No.
let me close
Uh,
my eyes and bring back my other personality.
absolutely, absolutely. So now we're gonna dive in and take a look at our ToyLeet of the year. So this was easy. It's the we were doing our top figures and stuff from last year and things like that, right? And we wanted to declare our ToyLeet of the year figure, and King Conan hit that on all cylinders. You and I both championed it. There was some other figures that were definitely ToyLeet worthy, right? Shelf worthy. There was a ton of
Oh yeah,
Savage Crucible figures I could have considered here, but we both instantly was like King Conan, without a doubt, right? We both had him
yeah.
flagged as one of our top
I mean,
guys last year.
I could have put any one of the Monster Force guys. You could have put any one of the Savage guys on this list, but for something
Yep.
that we were both like, this is an awesome, amazing figure. King Conan is definitely the one.
Yeah, and I might have taken my best action figure photography shot with
Yeah, you did a great
with
job with
him.
that picture.
He made it easy. He made it easy. I
Yeah,
didn't even remember this shot. Like when we were looking at the archived slides and stuff and prepping this, I was like, oh man. It's like, look at that shot. It looks like somebody who knows what he's kind of doing, outside of the fact that he looks like he's gonna chop his own thumb off with the sword because he doesn't know how to hold it. But hey, other than that, is the lighting, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And then obviously you're in the crick with the horse, and I still need to
yeah.
find the hair that my son has misplaced that goes to that horse. But yeah, Conan was definitely our ToyLeet of the year, and that's something we'll do every year. We will cover our ToyLeet figure of the year, and see which one makes essentially the ToyLeet Hall of Fame. King Conan, first entry into the ToyLeet Hall of Fame, and to be the yin and yang, right? The balance in order, the good versus evil, the light versus the dark side, the Brett versus the Shawn. Yeah, that was a wrestling reference for all you Canadians. Shawn Michaels is the better of those two. That said, we need to focus on the worst flush of the year, right? What was the toilet? What's the one that went down the toilet and clogged the crap out of it, and you had to hire a plumber, get a snake, or use some Drano to get rid of that plastic? And I'm blanking for it. Wasn't too many. There was a couple, but I think, oh, here it is. It's the Cody Rhodes Ultimate figure. Because I mean, it went on my shelf technically because I paid a pretty penny for it, and it went on the shelf. But it was definitely something I would throw in the toilet because they messed that neck
Yeah.
tattoo that Cody had on there.
When you asked
Is
me about
it's
this,
it's janky.
there's no other question about that figure because you were so you were so not well, you were excited, of course, but I mean, like, you really
Yeah.
wanted that figure to be outstanding, right? And
Yep.
it was a major disappointment. And I think
Yeah.
that's where the level goes, right? Like, I mean, we
Yep.
won't bring up the saber tooth, cat, the Smilodon that you flushed down the toilet because you were in a
Hey, I
miserable
fished it out,
mood.
man. I got that
You
fish,
were in
and
a
I was like,
miserable mood. Then you went in, elbow deep and fished it back out of the tank, gave it a
yep.
little bath
Yep.
and, put it back up on the shelf and said, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't mean it.
Yeah, took a little you know what it took? It took that smooth talking brick something to ease me into liking it a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's what it was. He was able to sell me
Man,
on
I'll
it
tell
and
you,
then
that
make me
guy
like it a
has
little more.
got more power in the, just making you want things between the way he talks about the toys on his show. And, you
Oh
were
yeah.
like, you were dead set on selling that Smilodon to him. And he's like, dude, this is this and this is this. Next thing I know, I get a message. Yeah, I might have been a little hasty with that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um so Ed, do you think there's, based on what it is, I mean, I see a couple questions in the chat, or not questions, but statements in the chat. But do you think the community would agree with us on Conan being the king this year?
Anybody that has it would probably. I know that it was on a lot of people's tops list, of figures of the
Yeah.
year. So I mean, you really can't go wrong. Most of the time, Mezco really knocks it out of the park. They have some hiccups once in a while, but I mean, the thing's got real metal chain. It's got lots of different accessories, great articulation, looks great with a lot of other figures. He's just badass looking. So
So, I mean, with that said, here we go. Told you guys I'd figure this stuff out. Um,
look at that. It was smooth. That was smooth.
exactly. Yeah, man. Figured it out. So now in the future, right?
Well,
We're just getting started, folks.
let's hit
Oh,
these
go
comments real
for it.
quick. No one's saying, didn't you guys have Brutal Rama? Well, we were supposed to, and then they got busy with production and everything else going on, and things got twisted that they
Yeah,
had to address, and
yeah,
that
they
kind of
got
bugged
bigger.
them out.
Honestly, I think I mean, being honest, and this is I don't criticize them all. I think they just had a bigger audience to be able to get in front of most nights, and our schedules are limited to the Tuesday night shows. We tried to do some pre-recorded stuff. Likely, probably have them on at a later time as they go towards release. We'll plan to reach out to them. I fully back the campaign.
Yeah,
Honestly, if I'm marketing something, and they're getting swarmed with connections and they have a deeper, network, at the time, ToyLeet probably isn't the place to necessarily put your,
yeah,
promote your
for
stuff at
sure.
that time, right?
Yeah,
Especially when there's a conflict with a much larger audience. And
right.
as somebody who wanted to see it succeed, no criticism there. So
No,
I think it just came down to scheduling. They had a lot more pressing opportunities to get it in front of larger audiences. So yeah,
that's
but
kind of the
they did
problem
say they might
with
come on in the future.
yeah, that's kind of the problem with the Kickstarter thing, right? Like was it Space Zombies from Mars, right? We were the first show they did. We
Yep.
got in early on the thing. I'm part of it because we're friends with Adam, and part of it
Yep.
because Adam and Arlen both knew what a big fan of the line I was, which helped. But we definitely got in early on that, right?
Same thing with El Dragoon. I think the
Correct.
connection
And
I
with
have
El
with AJ.
Dragoon, it helps. With the Kickstarters, you got to give it to the people, right? They're going to go
Yeah,
where they're hoping to get the most captive audience at a time, right? And you can't ding a company for doing that, right?
not at all.
You don't
No.
see the top rated shows on TV getting put on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You see them on at 8 o'clock at night, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's just the way
absolutely.
it goes.
And I mean, and honestly, for if we had any negative feelings about that situation, we wouldn't be doing what we do to celebrate independent toy
Right.
companies and stuff, right? It would be nonsense. So unfortunately, we had planned to have Brutal Realms on, and they were all for it, and then they just had opportunities and scheduling conflicts that just weren't able to work out.
Yeah.
They did allude to potentially coming on in the future, closer to the release, to just kind of talk about things and whatnot.
Yeah. And like
It
you
will
said,
allow
you
us
backed
to
the whole
approach
thing.
it differently.
I backed a
Yeah,
few of the figures, and we keep them on the news every time we see an update. I
absolutely.
just shared one with you when they shared their first basic figure, whatever the hell they're calling them. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a redisplay of the what they had already
Yeah.
shared, so that's why I held it from the news this week,
Yep.
just to keep it lighter. But yeah, they'll yeah again, at some point definitely want to have those guys on,
Yeah. And
just to
then
even talk about the process.
Menhoza saying, still think Delta Red from Operation Monster Force is my favorite. I like just checking one out under a magnifying glass, such detail. Well, you're speaking my language, Menhoza, because I absolutely loved Operation Monster Force. Um, Not
Absolutely.
only are they designed by Arlen, but that line has
Great
been
artist.
something I fell in love with from the moment I saw it. You can ask Travis. I've talked about it since before PowerCon when it was first
Yep.
announced. And yeah, the Operation Monster Force Delta Red figure, chef's kiss to that one. Declan Helsing's still my favorite figure from the line, but Delta Red is a really close second. And like you said, I sometimes just look at the details in Declan and the details in the Delta Red figures, and the sculpting and the paintwork and everything is top notch. So 100% agree with you on
Absolutely.
that, brother.
Absolutely. Those are great. I mean, I've showed you, Ed, I've gone into the cart and added it back in the day on Big Bad, added everything to catch up on it. And then I was like, oh, I got to back off because this is going to be like 1,200 bucks.
Yep.
But yeah, no, definitely. Good stuff. We good on the chat?
Yep, that's it. We're good.
Awesome. So, again, that was the past, that was the current, that's where we are. We've hinted towards the future, but we're just getting started, right? So, you know, we're expecting some hand-on building sessions. Ed, that's the workbench sessions that you allude to, right?
Yep.
Behind the creek, right? Those are going to be some behind the creek, right? Like we do shout outs from the creek where we're shouting some people doing some cool stuff, and then we have behind the creek. These all be pre-recorded stuff, and this has been alluded to. We're not the ToyLeet Takeover channel. We are the ToyLeet Network. We have news. We have the Takeover, which is on Tuesdays for our live viewers and live streams. But we're going to start to be supplementing the content here with things um, like I said, workbench sessions where Ed will be doing some dio customization, things like that, right? Um, we have Behind the Crick, which is kind of unpredictable. It's going to be Ed going out into the world. I think the other title we had bounced around for it was Plastic Safari. So
Yep.
it's going out and doing what he wants to do in the wild with his figures. And then there's things that I'm going to be working on in the pre-recorded segment approach or pre-recorded, you know, videos, and it's going to be gear and glory. It's a concept that I've been bouncing around. I have all of guess this, guys. It's wrestling related. I've got all these wrestlers behind me, and while it's not independent toy lines, it's a passion of mine. It's really how I got into my adult action figure collecting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive in to each one of the ultimate figures, maybe step into some of the elites when it makes sense, but I'm going to start to do some reviews of each one of the ultimate figures that WWE has released with Mattel. I'm going to dive in not just to the figure, but the history and lore, that keyword lore, around that figure, the feuds, the storylines, what event that figure was from, or that attire was from for that figure, and kind of give some background on it. And we'll be launching those in the coming weeks, hopefully getting those out even as early as next week. Um, but that said, that's where we're going is expanding beyond just the takeover and going to the network, where we will be supplementing the network with a number of different themes, right? We'll have the live show takeover, and then we'll have things like Gear and Glory. We'll have the Behind the Creek. We'll have the workbench sessions and some other things as time allows, just to give more content. Gear and Glory will just be me. Workbench sessions will just be Ed most times. Things like that, right? Like that's just the approach we're going with it. But that said, Ed, what new segment are you most excited about?
Right now, probably behind the crick, just
Behind the
because
Creek.
um, some of the things I want to do, it's going to be, it's not just going to be. I mean, you'll see some behind the scenes of setting up figs in the dirt and in the mud, and but I'm also going to show like just some of the times when I just walk and find a new place, right? I mean, like there's plenty of times we've all been there, right? Like in the city or even in the town or somewhere, you're just like, if I had a figure right now, that'd be a great pick, right? And I do that constantly when I walk through the woods. I just see some rocks or some, sticks sitting a certain way, and you're just like, that'd be a great place for a picture. So, I'm going to kind of highlight some of those and things to look for, maybe some tips on making it so the trees don't look gigantic, even though they are gigantic, some forced perspective, things like that, right? And
That's
you'll get to
awesome.
see me laying on my belly in the mud sometimes.
And I think this is cool, right? Like mine not so much, but yours, your spin-off shows, right? The other shows that are going to be on the network are shows that are related to stuff that's in our main video, right? There's one where you're in the crick taking pictures. That's your behind the crick stuff. And then, you spitting in your coffee as you drink the paintbrush water.
Yeah.
From those intros, right? That is, it's workbench sessions. So I think it's cool that like the shows that you're spinning off, and this is the first time I'm saying this to you, right? But as I was editing the intro video and seeing the titles and knowing what these things are, it's kind of cool that it's almost like we were foreshadowing what we were eventually going to do on the network. So yeah, the ToyLeet Network is what we've rebranded ourselves as, and this is the takeover. But throughout the week, in incoming weeks, you'll start to begin to see some pre-recorded content that will be launched to supplement just what we're doing here, and dig a bit deeper. Something else I came up with, and as I got through this, I thought, Ed, we kind of started at PowerCon, right? Like we were connecting before that, but PowerCon is like where things started to
Oh yeah.
to come
Yep.
to fruition. So, kind of a question was, if we did a convention for the ToyLeet, what would our booth look like?
What would our booth look like? It'd look like a booth full of plastic that a bunch of schmucks threw together.
Yeah, yeah. There'd be some rustling ropes in the background. Always some rustling ropes
Honestly,
in the background.
knowing you and I, the way that we do things, and I think, and it's been said to me quite a few times, and I'll just throw this out there that there's a lot of people that co-host together that do a really good job, right? And we're not anywhere superior or inferior to those. But the one comment I get a lot about you and I together as co-host is that we balance each other out really well because you're very structured, you're very organized, but you're also very, very distracted with the ADHD thing, right? Squirrel and you're gone, right? Um, and then people are like, yeah, but you're chill and you just kind of keep things going in the right path and, bring Travis back when he goes off on his talks. And so,
You tell
I
me
think,
what to run with, and you tell me what to hold off on.
right. And, I think that's kind of like how our booth would be, right? We'd have a really nice looking booth and I'd be running the booth and you'd be off in the corner talking to somebody about Hexastack or, how Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns last night or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'd be like, yo, Travis, get over here.
But what would you be doing is you'd be sitting in that chair. You'd
Right.
be sitting that
I'd
that
take
kind
this
of
chair
chair
with
that
me
you're
for
in.
sure.
It'd be in the corner. It'd
Yeah.
be in the corner of the booth, and you'd have it there. And me, I'd be standing on a life-size
I'll get
hexastack
it.
stand,
I'll get the chair
trying to swing
refinished
it.
in the ToyLeet colors, that pink
Oh
and the
yeah,
neon and all that, and take that
the
with us.
neon colors and
I
the
have two of
splashes
these.
of
I could
paint.
get
That
both
would be
of us one.
awesome. Oh, that would be awesome, man. Now you got me wanting to theme up my chair here and do it. And it's funny because I got the neon blue lights here, and those are getting added back there, and it's gonna be cool. So that's awesome. Cool. As we're coming to kind of the end here, right? But like, we want to, really, it's been a year. It's been a while, one both personally, professionally. Through this, I launched Hexastack. I'm changing jobs. You've done a new job. My kids are growing. Life is changing. But we've made some great friends. Had an awesome time. We have a group in the chat that's always active, always chatting with us, always pinging us on the side, even outside of this. But overall, you guys have helped shaped what ToyLeet is and what this year has been, what 52 episodes has been, from the co-hosts to the folks in the chat, the combination of both, and everyone in between. Thank you. And seriously, we really do appreciate that.
Hundred
You
percent.
are yourself ToyLeet. We'll see everybody next
Troy,
week for episode 53. Oh, go for it.
Troy's given us some ideas on our booth, some blueprints for dioramas and dioramas built, some custom figs and some photos of figure photography and all that.
There'd probably be a wrestling belt, and you could take a picture with Mr. Wonderful. Because what I would do, that hustler in me, I would advertise that we'd have Mr. Wonderful at the booth, and people would be
Yeah,
like, "What? We got Mr. Wonderful at the booth?" And they'd be like, "I thought he was
yeah,
dead," and I'd be like, "Nah, he's always been alive,
that's
and
right.
he's just a
Where
lot
the hell's
younger
Paul?
and
Where
way
the hell's
more."
Paul?
Paul, Paul, who? That's
Right.
what you do.
I do not know of this
So
Paul you speak of.
yes, no, I'm not sure where you're getting at, and no, we are not named after the same guy on on the Shark Tank. No, that is that dude stole my name. He is not the Mr. Wonderful. But yeah, are there any final messages you want to shoot out to the ToyLeet fan before we start year two?
I think we've covered it pretty good, except, I just want to give one final thanks to the people that have been here. They were here with me and Luke, and they stuck through the transition to what we started, and they've stuck through the transition to what we changed to recently with the new branding and things like that, with the Toilet Network taking off. And hopefully they stick around for a lot longer. And the appreciation, is not we can't express how much we appreciate everybody that's been here week in when they can be, week out when they can be, and all the support they've given us. And if you guys know of any topics you want us to cover or people you want us to shout out, ideas for other shows that we could do, feel free to shoot us a message. You can hit Travis or myself up on Instagram individually, or to go to the ToyLeet Network. I think it's ToyLeet Takeover still on IG, but we're more than willing to look at other topics and things like that. We're always looking for new topics, fresh people to shout out, like Travis said earlier. And we don't see everything because we're just two guys, And as Travis mentioned, we're schmucks most of the time. So
I don't even know where I got that. It must be a wrestling thing. I must have heard somebody call somebody a schmuck in wrestling, and I've been using it ever since. But I hope that's not too
you
offensive.
you were
I don't
watching
even know what
that
it
movie,
is.
right? Was it called Dinner for Schmucks with Paul Rudd? Is it Paul Rudd in that movie?
I don't
I can't.
remember.
I don't remember, but
Yeah.
Steve Carell.
So,
That's who.
oh,
Steve Carell
okay.
was
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Dinner
yeah,
for
yeah.
Schmucks.
Oh, I love that dude. Michael Scott,
Yeah.
my favorite. That said, um, next week, little preview, we're going to be diving headfirst into the underground world of custom action figures. The dark and dingy halls and the backyard brawls and the all in between. These aren't your average shelf warmers, right? These are one of one in most cases legends, right? They're kit bashed masterpieces and repainted icons that blur the line between toy and art, right? We'll gonna showcase the best custom creators out there, custom specifically, break down what makes a custom figure pop, and maybe even spark some ideas for your next build. So grab your glue, fire up your airbrush, and join us as we celebrate plastic reimagined. This is going to be custom creations, the best custom action figures, and it's going to be loud, wild, and 100% wonderful with the
Yeah, and if
toilet.
you guys have customs of your own that you're really proud of and want us to show off, shoot us a pic, forward us a picture over to
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Toilet Instagram, and we'll
Yeah,
definitely show it off.
absolutely. Anything else, Ed, before we wrap up?
I would like to take this opportunity to thank my mom, my dad, my family. Honestly, though, Travis, it's been an amazing couple of years becoming, really good friends with you. Um, and doing this show has brought us pretty close together. I know we don't get to see each other that much, even though we only live 3 hours away from each other. Um, but, you know, I want to thank you for coming in. You've helped the show get more successful than it was ever going to be. I fully believe that. So I appreciate you, brother, and I love you.
Thank you, man. Same to you. And I'm going to thank. I'd like to thank absolutely no one. No, I'm kidding. That's the pro wrestler nerd in me. No, I want to thank everybody, man. Again, thank you so much, Ed and I said Ed, Ted and Aaron over at Helidope for pushing and prodding, you and Punk for always supporting and moving me along
Don't
to
forget
keep
to thank
driving forward
Eric.
for. Well, that was going to be my closing one. Thank you, Ed, for cutting me off on that one.
Oh,
Because I
sorry.
was very much going to say, and further and foremost, there's only two people I would like to thank more, and there was one guest we didn't really shout out, and that was that that weird guy from outer space that came up with the "May the Force be with you" last year. I can't remember what
I
his
was
name
going to
was.
put him on the guest list and I totally forgot.
Yeah, what was his name?
I don't remember.
Yeah, he was weird.
Dude.
Yeah, the hair, that whole
Yeah.
thing. zooming in from outer space. You interviewed him. You did a great job.
Yeah,
But
I forgot about that. He was
you
on our
know,
he was on our first actual official news segment.
yeah, he was a good dude. Yeah, because you were running the news back then. Man, it's gotten
Yeah,
so much better. Um,
it has. Yeah. I dress a
no,
little classier, but
no.
other than that, yeah, it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, no, I kid. But yeah, no, I think everyone. It's been awesome, man. I look forward to it. Look forward to another 52. Maybe we'll get to a point where we can, hit a year from now, right, for a year or
Yeah.
two, and we'll stick to that. And we won't realize that we missed it on the way through, and all that with everything going on. But yeah, it's been a heck of a
And
ride.
once
I'm
we
sure you.
once we get the shows going, the pre-recorded shows, we'll start promoting those so people can pop in and see those, and
Yeah,
hopefully we'll continue to grow. We've grown
absolutely.
steadily. You know, I'm not going to say that we're killing it as far as numbers go, but we've grown steadily over the last year. So I think it's a lot to go with our consistency and all that.
Yeah, I think part of it is building that strong foundation, and you carried over a lot of viewers and subscribers from what was the show, and I don't think we've lost those viewers, so that's a key, right? And then we've
Yep.
grown by I want to say 100 or so from last year when I first came on, give or take. It was like 80 to 90 somewhere in that range. I think we've added since last year. It was like two
Yeah, I
something
think
when I
we're
first came on.
around the 180 mark, and now we're at 309.
Oh,
So yeah,
Oh, so it's been over 100. Oh, that's
yep,
awesome. So I didn't remember that. So, but again, we've carried them all through. I feel like once, and again, we're not buying subs. Punk said we can't. No,
that's right.
we don't want to, right? We
You
don't want to.
never
We
hear
want
the
we
end
want
of it if we
organic
did.
growth. Oh man, he'd start ignoring my calls Monday through Sunday,
He put
not
us
just
on
Monday.
blast on his show about these assholes buying subs and look at these guys.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's about an organic growth. It's the same thing I've been trying to do with Hextech. It's organic growth. I want it to be
Absolutely.
value add. I don't want it to be a chore. I want it to be enjoyable. That's what we want, right? And we want that.
Right.
I feel like once we get to 500, and that's going to be part of year two, right? That's going to be my biggest want for year two is to
Yep,
get
that's the
to the
goal.
500. Not because I want to get to monetization so much. I mean, that's part of it, right? But I want to get to it because that's like the marker to
Right.
get to that. And to me, once we get there, I feel like we'll grow and grow and then think because the algorithm will change, it'll improve, and we'll start to see additional growth. And I think with more growth will come, additional, value, and we'll get more feedback. We'll be able to expand, and enhance things. And we'll continue to enhance the product that we deliver. So that's the goal here. But thank you everyone for that. Ed, I know that you'll be around on channels. I think you'll be probably out on you'll be
Oh
out
yeah,
on
I'll be at
Punk
Punks
tomorrow night
tomorrow
with
and
his.
Rad Noms Friday,
Yep.
Clubhouse Saturday. Um,
Is Pu- is
Hopefully,
is Oz back this Saturday, or is
I
it
don't
is
know if he's
he still
back or
out?
not yet. I have not seen whether
Okay.
he's officially back. I know he's been popping up on IG a little bit and in a
Yep.
couple of chats. So I don't know if he's
Cool.
slow rolling back in or if he's going to take back over. I was kind of
Okay.
on with Allison Saturday night for a little while, then had to dip off because my internet was not cooperating and it kept crapping the bed on me. So,
Gotcha.
but hopefully my new computer, because I don't think it's the internet. I think it's my computer's causing the
Gotcha.
problems.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Have Luke fix that for you. I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Yeah, he will. He'll tell me,
Awesome.
Dad, buy a new
Good deal.
computer. That's what he tells me.
Nice. So then, Clubhouse on Saturday, Hella Dope on Sunday.
Yeah.
Then you'll be in that Ghosters channel on Monday night for 3.5 hours,
Yep.
Punk with Toys. And then back here next week with Custom Creations, right?
Custom creations.
Yeah.
Wait,
Awesome.
look at this. Look at this guy showing up at the
Oh,
very end. What's up, Radnom?
nice. Must have heard his ears ringing.
Yeah, we're talking all sorts of
Good
schmack
deal.
about him.
Yeah, we put him in the schmuck group with us.
That's right. The
Yeah.
talking that schmuck
Um,
schmack.
exactly. Awesome.
That is
So with
now
that said,
that term has been coined, so you guys cannot use that. Schmuck schmack is a ToyLeet network term.
that's awesome. So again, like, subscribe, hit the buttons, do those things, do the shares. Come back next week. We will be here in 6 days, not seven, because we'll be back on Tuesday next week. Again, not this channel. We'll be on Tuesday next week. As you can see here, Tuesday 6 3 9:05. and we'll be going over that custom creations. Really looking forward to this. I'm going to be digging in, finding my own custom creations I like. Ed's going to be doing the same. We're gonna both kind of like talk through them, highlight what we like about them. You might see some custom for Horsemen. You might see some custom Mattel Ultimates, things like that.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
going to be
see some
everything, right?
custom 1/6.
Just
So
just cool
exactly,
creations. That's all.
exactly. So we're looking forward to that. So I think the closing is typically doing that thing that you should always do, and it's stay wonderful, folks.